Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Saturday Night Review Series. And after watching some modern wrestling, I'm glad to return to wrestling that actually makes some degree of logical sense. Anyway, we move to the August 28th edition in 1993 of the WCW Saturday Night Series. Obviously, uh, moving towards Fall Brawl, new talents in a week time in WCW in a lot of ways for the summer. Things move back around for the fall. I didn't realize, having not watched this stuff since it originally aired, nearly 20 years ago. I mean, it'll be 20 years in less than two, so 18 years ago, or 30 years actually, um, in a little bit here, not 20. Anyway, that how weak some of the stuff was, but anyway, we move towards a Steve Austin match, enhancement match. Austin trying to break off and do a singles thing here, not quite there yet. There by the end of the year, there by Starrcade certainly. Um, tips tries to tip up with the enhancement talent, but he is in a tag match here. Tag match still is the Hollywood Blondes. I say trying to go towards singles because you can notice that he's taking more of the match. He's also um, being a little more aggressive than Pillman at the time. They haven't split off the team. They won't for a couple more months yet, but I think that begins in early 94, late 93. Regardless, you know, Brian Pillman comes in, gets rolled onto his shoulder, does some cheating stuff along the way, does everything he possibly can to get an advantage. Pillman cuts him off and does everything he needs to. Matches back and forth, more so than it should be with former tag team champions. There is a pile driver attempted and almost hit by Austin. Austin, though, has difficulty getting the man up and holding him in the pile driver. Does the backdrop spot and actually loses him almost, does a modified pedigree there along the way. We move to, obviously, the Blondes win with the top rope rocket launcher type splash maneuvers. We move to a secondary deal with the Flair for the Gold, Rick Rude, flirting with Fifi, becoming extremely agitated with Flair, being outshined, calls Flair nothing, hits the Rude Awakening on the arena, on the Flair for the Gold floor. Fifi is screaming. Rude screams at her, basically tells her that she needs to know her place, and Flair is nothing. Obviously, setting up a feud between Flair and Rick Rude, which doesn't go well because they don't get along that well. Jungle Jim Steele, who's relatively new, against Max Payne is your next match up. Super basic match because Steele isn't ready for all of this. Steele takes over with some headlocks early, doesn't really get him a lot on it. Cut off by Max Payne. Max Payne ends up. Uh, Actually, this is I believe Charlie Norris technically. Jungle Jim Steele comes later. For some reason, they look almost identical to me. Maybe one is named after the other. Anyhow, um, Norris kind of is here, gets into the corner, and manages to miss a splash. Does Payne crossbody by Norris. Norris comes back with a kick to the face, and I mean, Payne doesn't really want to sell it. You can easily see that the match is falling apart. Jump kick by Norris, and he's doing the Native American dance with chops and trying to get some run there. The match is really not good, but eventually Charlie Norris gets a victory. Then they plug the upcoming Fall Brawl pay per view, which feels like a lame duck pay per view. They're doing it for the sake of having a pay per view on the list. What doesn't feel like a lame duck is the following match. William Regal, or Steven Regal, and Brad Armstrong. Lots of great wrestling, lots of counter wrestling, arm holds, arm locks, and the like. Regal uses every move to get an advantage, drops the knee across the eye and that general area, catches up, and ultimately, um, uh, it's um, it's there and pretty simple. You know, hard shots by Armstrong. Armstrong really by this point, I think in '93, on his way out, he does bounce Regal around. Regal takes the majority of the match. Uh, Armstrong gets a short term comeback for a couple of minutes. Hits a couple knee lifts, hits and gets advantages. Dropkick under the chin by Armstrong. Armstrong not willing to take the least bit of a backward step here, but the eventual win, which one would expect from Regal, does occur. Regal gets a one-shot cutoff and uses a vertical suplex, among other things, to try to get the victory there. An attempted roll-up, gets the roll-up, and Regal pulls the tights on the reversal of the roll-up and gets a cheap victory that way. Dusty Rhodes basically says he's going to eventually handle the assassin that has been mocking him and teasing him or whatever for an extended period of time. Then we go to Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes and Rick Rude, I guess 2 out of 3 match series here for the U.S. Championship because they haven't finished their final feud for that championship. So that's kind of an interesting thing for the next little while. Rude has the advantage in headlocks for a bit. Meanwhile, Rhodes comes back and tries to get his advantage back. Rhodes, arm locks, leg locks, and the like, basic stuff. Rude slows the match down with punches, kidney shots, chin locks, and the like. Amazing match if you're into just basic psychology of wrestling back when every move was meant to count. Rude takes the midpoint of the match, misses what was supposed to be a knee to the side of the head. The attempted sleeper, and then a kickoff of the ropes. Rude eventually manages to get a victory because Rhodes has the hold. Not the best of the 3 match series, but a very good match. We go to Ice Train and Bob Starr. Bob Starr, an enhancement talent who never should have been anywhere near a ring. Ice Train, a guy who had a good look, but never really became terribly much, although he's here for the next few years. Backdrop by Train, gut wrench, suplex released, and I mean, Starr does the best to make Train look good, but I think they were trying to get another stronger African American star over, and it didn't really work here. We'll see in the weeks and months to come how that all plays out, but it just never really hits full stride. Anyway, clotheslines by Ice Train and basic stuff here. Bob Starr does crumple well for him, but Starr's basic only real talent is selling. Big splash and a win for Ice Train. Harlem Heat up next, who, when you consider that they're about to go into the Fall Brawl War Games style match in a couple of weeks here, less than a month, that's a pretty big deal. Harlem Heat here facing off against the team of Sting and the British Bulldog, which still remains. I did not realize they remained past the summer. I'd forgotten about that. Obviously, Booker T even here stands out a bit. Some basic brawling. Harlem Heat gets a slight early advantage. Nothing major to write home about, but at the same time, power is here. Bulldog tries to work over the arm of Booker T, tries to do everything he can to get an advantage in every possible and conceivable way. Some power moves by Sting. Sting manages to get a hot tag, or Bulldog gets the hot tag to Sting with about 4 minutes left in the program. Harlem Heat takes the majority of the match, real basic stuff. Drop kick by Sting. Sting cleans house on both heels and looks like $1 million in doing so, in all honesty. Simple basic stuff here. Sting comes back around, however, the Harlem Heat manages to hang with him for a couple of minutes, ducks the clotheslines, and Sting takes them out with double clotheslines of their own. Anyway, victory for Sting and the Bulldog, including a Scorpion Deathlock on one of the Harlem Heat. Victory there. And obviously, they're going into the main event at the War Games, and that's pretty exciting. In any event, we will be back with more right after this.